Mr. J. Christopher, protect the righteous with wisdom and strength.
Welcome back inside an episode of the Brooklyn Boardroom, and I'm your host, Jay Christopher, the Industry Esquire. But Nadine is with us, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Were you born in Brooklyn, Nadine?
I was born in Brooklyn.
Born in Brooklyn.
Raised in New York and New Jersey.
She has to get a pull up for that. Not the Jersey part. No. The Brooklyn part. The Brooklyn part. When we do that. From New York, you went to NYU, right?
I did, yeah.
You said you studied media planning?
I actually went in as pre-med. I came out as Metropolitan Studies, which is sort of a cross-functional. I could go a few different places. I was going to go into nonprofit. And then out of college, I fell into tech, sort of fell in love with live streaming, and did that for 15 years. So that really held my interest for a while. And now with the emergence of AR, VR, blockchain, and AI becoming a household discussion topic, it just feels like a really exciting time. Like there's a whole new round of emerging technologies to explore.
Totally.
So here I am.
But here's the thing. Nadine is very humble, okay? Because she just glossed over a lot of important things, right? So she's like, yeah, I fell into tech and did some stuff. But no, you were at Google or YouTube particularly focusing on live streaming for many years, right?
Yeah.
The live stream expert, meaning, and by the way, part of her background is you've done live streaming events for the White House.
Yes, I was lucky enough to work on some White House live streaming. So I actually did work with, we were a very small team supporting that product. And I started out working on advertiser programs and then moved over to some of the YouTube partners. And that is actually one of my, one of the pieces that I'm most proud of is working on State of the Union addresses, working with the White House to get them to use our platform. We actually ran coverage for the RNC, DNC conventions, both conventions, no bias,
Wow.
and the elections. And one of the things I'm actually most proud of is we got the White House/Live to transition over to our platform, and they run the press conferences through the YouTube platform.
Wow.
And it was an incredible experience. It was actually a wonderfully collaborative experience. I found their team so open and really so ready to embrace new tech.
There goes Nadine contributing to that bottom line at Google. You know what I mean? A couple of those billions are due for you, Nadine.
Be inclusive at all levels, right?
But no, that's very impressive. And the way as we talked about this offline, obviously, the way I've kind of made sense of you is you seem to be one of these people who kind of bubbles with creativity and is always on the cutting edge of innovation, emerging tech, which is obviously what you've done with your pivot into AR, VR, and cryptocurrency. So thank you again for being here and kind of breaking down the crypto space for us, because I think a lot of people they've heard about it but are confused, right?
Right. And I think one thing to note for anyone who's listening is there are so few true experts in this space that it's really to be explored. So no one should feel like they're behind because honestly, it's only 1% of the population that really knows about this technology and is actively diving into it.
Okay.
So it's new for everyone.
Okay.
And everyone's exploring and figuring out what this means and where it's going.
Okay.
So yeah, anyone should feel welcome and open to it.
To jump in. Well, on that note, we're going to segue into our conversation, right? And my question for you is this, right? So for the viewers that are not hip to the arrival of cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology that facilitates the use of crypto as a legal currency, can you please explain these two things and communicate it to us like we're like a classroom of elementary school students, right? Because I'm definitely not a tech expert, and I can get lost sometimes, and I'm assuming some of my viewers can as well. So yeah, just what's the kind of the elementary explanation in this?
The basics.
Yeah.
101. So really, I think a lot of people associate cryptocurrency and blockchain as one, where cryptocurrency is the token that essentially is the currency, and blockchain is the technology it runs on. So cryptocurrency is essentially a currency that runs independently of governments, of other currencies, more or less, and it runs on the blockchain. The blockchain is the technology where you can basically track the transaction from source to handoff, and there's unique identifiers that allow you to trace it back to a specific source. So it's a little different than the way money works today, where physical money can pass hands, so you may not know where that dollar lived, right? That life of that dollar, where you really can track the life of a token or the life of a transaction. But I think what's important for viewers to know is even though cryptocurrency uses blockchain. Blockchain has so many more uses, and we could probably dive into that later too. But it does allow for transactions to take place. So it can be an exchange of information. It can be an exchange of, maybe one day physical goods where we work out some sort of barter system. But blockchain is essentially a place for trade.
Okay, so a light bulb just went off in my mind, and you'll tell me if this is accurate or not as the expert. So here's the
A
visual.
new expert. I'm still learning as well.
Well, okay. The emerging expert, right? So here's the visual that went off in my mind, and let me know if this is right. So when I think about currency, I think about like a dollar bill. And when I think about blockchain, I think about like some kind of computer chip implanted in that dollar bill. So that no matter where that dollar goes, your house, my house, overseas, we can track who had it, when they had it, when it was transacted in the transaction. Would that be an accurate way to?
Yeah, it's basically doing away with the physical dollar, right? There's no physical thing to track. Everything lives within the blockchain. The blockchain becomes the ledger to track where that dollar originated and where it's going to.
Got it.
And who's requesting it.
Got it.
So yeah, it's essentially a new way of
Tracking
of
system.
tracking.
Tracking.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
whole new, and that's why they refer to it as the ledger, which I think is a really great term to use because
Okay.
it's something that we all can visualize, a banking ledger or, accounting ledgers.
Got it.
And that's the virtual space we're all working in.
Okay, so now blockchain, I've totally solidified what it is in my brain with my own visual, right, with the computer chip. But let's go back to crypto now. We all understand what currencies are. Obviously, the dollar bill is a form of currency, or paper money is a form of currency. Crypto, and I don't know, I'm wondering if you happen to know this. We can probably Wikipedia it, but do you happen to know where the name crypto came from?
I don't know where the actual name cryptocurrency came from, but it was all started in 2008.
Oh, that recent.
Yeah, very recent. It's all
Wow.
pretty new. So essentially, the blockchain, the notion of blockchain was launched in 2008, interestingly, by someone who had a pseudonym called Satoshi Nakamoto.
Oh, I remember hearing about
So,
this guy.
yes, so it's not entirely known who the actual creator is, and there's lots of speculation as to who this person is, whether they're still with us today.
Mm-hmm.
There's some theories where the communication stopped, and there's some people that believe that that person may have passed away, and that's why that communication stopped.
Okay.
But essentially, it was someone who created that database or the groundwork for the database for the ledger to exist online.
Sounds very Illuminati-ish to me. Very conspiracy. I'm teasing, but I'm not. I'm like, we have this new form of currency. We don't know exactly where it came from, but it's here. Maybe Martians, and we should be using it. Okay, so again, the idea is this: we can do, you and I can do business. I can do business with people all over the world without using my bank account, without using any form of paper money, purely using this digital version of currency, right? Okay, and then so now I guess the follow-up question to that is, if it's really that simple, well, let me back up. How would I even begin to engage in a transaction of cryptocurrency, and who would be willing to accept that as legal tender for any type of transaction? Clearly, I can't buy my Ralph's or
Your
my Whole
groceries,
Foods
right.
groceries that way, but maybe I can buy something else. I don't know. So where is it? Who's using it, and how do I use it?
Yeah, and that's still being determined, I would say. For the most part, I know Overstock was taking Bitcoin at one point.
Really?
I'm not sure if they still
By the way,
are.
Bitcoin is a form of cryptocurrency, guys.
Yes, and there were a few more that were looking for mainstream transactions. I know IBM recently has taken on some initiatives to bring the blockchain to the public. So I just read an article recently. They're doing a deal with Walmart. So it seems like there are some approaches that are coming that would bring the cryptocurrencies to everyday life and how we transact.
Okay.
But for me, what I find very interesting is almost the transactions that take place outside of the norm. Like there are some companies that are looking to create a token where it's a benefit for an exchange. So one of the companies that I found very interesting is a company called Seeds, plural Seeds token. And that's more of a philanthropic approach. So it's similar to a GoFundMe type of company where someone expresses a need, and then people in the community that have the Seeds token can give tokens to fulfill this need. And as a benefit to giving the token, a benefit to the giver, is I'm then entered into a lottery to win a token. So that's not necessarily, a practical use. I'm using air quotes for anyone
Okay.
listening. For anyone who is looking to buy groceries with it, but it's a really whole new way of transacting and a whole new way of thinking about how we benefit each other and how we compensate each other.
Okay. So now you mentioned a couple of different organizations. You mentioned Bitcoin, and then you mentioned GoFundMe, which, so tell us, who are the major players right now in the crypto space? Banking institutions, technology companies, just so we have a sense of who's investing in this business, and maybe that adds some legitimacy to it.
Right. And I think, yeah, I don't want to name too many names, but I think it's very interesting that it is becoming a household conversation and that hedge funds are talking about it. Major financial institutions are now putting resources towards investigating how they can work within the blockchain and on the blockchain. So I think the mainstream financial institutions are getting on board. For the most part right now, from what I can tell, it's really very much an exploratory space.
Okay.
So there are people that are creating coins that are completely independent of mainstream financial institutions.
And when you, not to interrupt you, when you use the term coin, it's synonymous with the cryptocurrency, right? One and the
Tokens,
same.
right.
Token,
Yeah,
coin, cryptocurrency, all mean the same thing.
Right. And when
Okay.
a company is launching, there's an ICO, an initial coin offering.
Okay.
So when I say coins, a lot of what's out there now and what you hear about now are these ICOs, where they may not necessarily be a fully launched company with a product that you interact with.
Okay.
But there is a white paper out there where you can read about the ICO and what the proposed offering is and what this token is going to do, or what this company is going to do. And then that's your sort of resources to determine if this is something you want to invest in or not. So right now in the space, white papers are key, and I would say provide the most information as to what this token means or what this proposal is offering.
And when we think about the coins and the tokens, the players that are in crypto now, is it fair to say that Bitcoin is the leading cryptocurrency, or is that not accurate?
I think that's
I hear about it all the time.
Yeah, it's definitely the most commonly used brand.
Okay.
And Bitcoin for me, entering the space, I found the lowest common denominator to get a Coinbase account, because you essentially have to have a wallet, a virtual wallet, in order to invest in these currencies.
Okay.
So I started out with Coinbase, and they trade with you can buy into Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin.
Okay.
So to me, that's sort of the lowest common denominator to getting into the market and figuring out what all of this means.
Okay.
And then if you want to dive in further, you can buy a MyEther wallet, and that'll allow you to exchange for other tokens and buy into other companies. And there's different kinds of wallets you can buy into in order to do that. There's different types of exchanges you can invest in that allow you further access. But I found Coinbase to be the easiest,
Okay.
coming in with the least, when I didn't know that much about it and really just wanted to get in and experiment and see what this is. And then from there, once you're invested, I feel like then you're a stakeholder, right? So you're going to seek out more information from there and determine what the next jump is for you if you want to invest further.
Okay, so we're gonna park there for a second because you gave us a lot of information. I want to unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
So in baby steps. So you said that if you want to get started, you have to have a virtual wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then where do you get that, and what does it generally cost, and how do you typically use it?
Yeah, that's a good question, because different wallets have different transaction fees.
Okay.
Just like, if you have a PayPal account, right? There's a transaction fee associated with that.
Okay.
So like I said, Coinbase I found to be the least complicated.
Where do you
and-
get it though? Where do you actually?
You download the app.
Oh, it's a downloadable app.
I tied it to my credit card, so you can actually buy cryptocurrencies with your credit card, essentially.
Interesting.
So to me, that was the most accessible as someone coming into it for the first time.
Okay.
And that's really where I started. And now I'm looking into a MyEther wallet. And there are a couple other companies, exchange companies, where you can buy into an exchange and then buy tokens from there, or be part of an exchange.
So the differences between the wallets, the MyEther wallet versus the other wallet that you started out with, is essentially the fees may be a little different, and the ability in terms of what you invest in varies?
And the coins that you have access to would be different.
I see.
Yeah.
So certain wallets give you access to more coins than others.
Right.
Got it. And the
Yeah.
more access to coins, I'm guessing, the better for you because then you could trade.
Right. And the more, I mean, similar to opening up a brokerage account, right?
Oh, I
A
see.
traditional
That's a
brokerage
great
account,
analogy.
you're getting access to all of these stocks. So it's the same way you're opening a wallet that gives you access to all of these ICOs. And it does mean more research,
Okay.
because there aren't really, brokerage companies that are giving you advice actively,
I
or no
see.
one central place right now. But there are a few companies that are launching that are going to be providing looking to provide trusted news and be that place to get information
Interesting.
around it.
So but right now there is no central resource for that.
There's some great resources out
Can
there.
you name them? Because I think that may be helpful.
Sure. So right now, I actually found the Unchained podcast. I thought was very interesting. That's focused on cryptocurrency,
Okay.
and that was started by I want to be like Laura. I don't want to get her name wrong.
It's okay. We don't
Laura
mind.
Shin.
Laura Shin.
Started
Unchained.
Unchained
The Unchained podcast.
Yep.
Okay.
And she does some great interviews, and I love that she admittedly says, I'm learning about the space as well, and we're all learning together. So there's no pretense behind it, and the quality of interviews that she gets are amazing.
Really?
And I think that's a great resource. There's another company I met with. I met the founder in LA called ICO Watchdog,
I see a watchdog.
and that is a sort of a news social service. So you can sign up on Telegram, on Slack, and there's another social option. And basically, he will send out information around ICOs that are launching. He provides some color around whether there's a lot of information around this company. He sort of gives you an idea as to how trustworthy in a way, and he's looking to be the Moody's of cryptocurrency.
I see.
So-
I like that name. I see a watchdog. I'm gonna
Isn't
give
that great?
Yeah. Feel safe. Like someone who actually cares if I get ripped off or not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, someone's helping you, directing you towards those resources to make that decision.
Okay.
And I think he's launching some premium services soon that look really great. So it's a good time to get in, and you can do like a freemium service now and check it out and see what it does. And then if you find that it works for you, you can sign up for a premium service and get additional information.
So on a practical level, so you've explained to us how to actually, trade and purchase cryptocurrencies through this virtual wallet. And you've described some of the various wallets that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, assuming someone's taken step A and B, done the research, downloaded the wallet, bought some currency, Bitcoin, or I think you named a few others. And is there, from a practical point of view, can a person buy these various currencies, trade them on this wallet, and then cash out and make a profit, like in the span of a day or two?
Absolutely. And I think there are a lot of people that are doing that.
It's like the day trading equivalent of in the crypto space.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's trading ICOs, trading tokens the same way that you would trade stocks. And I think the really interesting part of blockchain is there's another side to it that we don't have access to in the traditional stock market marketplace.
Okay.
You can also mine coin.
Mine
you can
coin.
mine and be part of the blockchain. So you can essentially provide a node or provide, server resources to the ledger, and you can become part of the ledger. So you can benefit from that as well.
Well, let me make sure I understand that. So let's say, for example, someone is in the tech space as an engineer, because I think this is what we're headed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the conversation. So someone is tech savvy, engineer, they're futzing around, creating all kind of apps and things, and they realize that, or they've learned that, wait a minute, I can contribute to blockchain
Right.
by mining or creating a node. Okay, wait a minute.
From going too
No,
far too
you're not
soon.
going too far. You're
right.
not going too far at all. I just want to make sure people follow. Because I've heard the term node, but I know my layman's point of view is probably very different from someone who's operating in this technology. So what is a node and what is mining in blockchain?
Yeah, so we should probably take a step back. And just talking about blockchain, as we said, it's a ledger, right? It's a place where transactions are tracked. And basically every node, every server, every touch point along the way has a unique identifier. So that
I
allows
see.
you to track it back to the source.
I see.
So that blockchain is made up of basically people that want to mine, want to provide resources.
Interesting.
And there is a benefit to doing so. You do get paid, again, air quotes, paid for participating in that way, for providing resources, for mining coins.
This feels very Wikipedia-ish. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I
great.
think that's a great comparison.
Okay,
Yeah, it really is a community effort. And the more people that mine, the stronger the blockchain is going to become because there are more resources devoted to it.
I see. So what I'm curious, I don't know if you have the answer to this question, but like, what are the barriers or the criteria or the qualifiers to contribute to the blockchain in terms of a node or any kind of technology? Like, what do you have to do
Right.
to do that?
I mean, essentially anyone can start mining. There are some great YouTube videos on how to mine coin and, how to set up the servers. And of course, that gets very technical. And you want to make sure that your equipment is secure because you're contributing to the security of the blockchain. And then if you are a miner, the security of your transaction is rewarded as well. So it's checked along the way for trustworthiness. So every point
I
is
see.
determined how trustworthy it is and whether it can essentially handle the transactions.
That's great.
So it's not as though, I can set up a server in here and it just means that I'm suddenly part of the blockchain. It is qualified through the process of transacting.
And maybe this, I don't know if this goes without saying or it's just an obvious question, but like, because there's so many people involved in this technology, potentially, obviously, like who's the person or organization that's quality control, securing, making sure everything is done like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Because like with Wikipedia, there is a guy, I think, who's a founder. I don't know. I'm sure he has a team of people who make sure that they check your stuff to some degree.
Right.
Like who's taking responsibility for the blockchain technology?
Well, it's very interesting. And I think that kind of goes, for me, it goes back to that what we were just talking about with the creator of blockchain being this pseudonym.
Oh, that's right. That's
So
right. Yeah.
the entire system was based on this idea of lack of trust and not having one central person or organization responsible for making the rules. So it really is built to police itself in a way
I
and
see.
determine if something isn't trustworthy, then transactions won't be routed in that direction. They're meant to be routed towards areas that are more trustworthy.
Interesting.
So there's a reward for being trustworthy. There's sort of some self-policing that goes on there, and yeah, I think that's definitely a debatable part of cryptocurrency as well, where it is fully independent. It's not regulated at the moment, even though I think regulations are coming. And you see that, by turning on traditional financial news now, the CNBCs and MSNBCs are talking about it. Fox Financial News is talking about it as well, where in the US, some SEC rules are coming.
On the way.
right?
Okay.
And for ICOs that are launching, they are pretty much unregulated, right? So it is very much about self-policing and the community determining what's best for the individual user. So you decide what you invest in, what you find is a worthy cause or product,
Yeah.
and you're choosing to invest in that environment. And then, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, finish your thought, please.
Yeah, and then the blockchain that it runs on has a self-policing mechanism essentially built into it to determine if the transactional path is safe or not.
Well, yeah, one of the analogies that I heard about blockchain and why it's so secure, as you described with the ledger analogy, is that the ledger lives everywhere. So if the ledger in the U.S. in Brooklyn is says $1 and the one in I don't know Iceland says 150, there's an inconsistency there. Therefore, the one that is consistent with the majority of ledgers will be the one that's trustworthy, and the one that is inconsistent will be eliminated because it's not credible.
Right. Essentially, it's that majority rules
And then if you delete,
accounting.
yeah, exactly. Then if you're in a regular banking institution and someone there's a malfunction and all the files are deleted and no one knows how much you owe or how much you have in your account, in this case, that ledger lives everywhere in theory, right? So that no matter what happens, it can never really be deleted or removed, there's always clear transparency as to what you have in your account because it doesn't live in one place.
That's the theory,
Yeah.
right? That's the
Yeah.
theory. It is a living documentation of it. So it should be retrievable. Yes, there have been some breaches, and there are some other companies that are building additional securities around it. Like when you do transact, you need a key in order to access
I've
your
heard about the key. Yeah.
right. So there's some other companies that are launched and launching around securing that key. So to make sure that no one else gets a hold of your key and can claim your share. So I guess it's similar to me, it's very similar to online banking, right? And I'm old enough to remember when online banking seemed like a new concept and scary, and this whole idea of putting your PIN number in
I know,
online.
right? Yeah.
And I think in embracing that, we understand security a little more. We understand what HTTPS is and how that's differentiated from HTTP. And this is
Well,
a
actually,
similar
I don't know the difference. So can you like
one secure, one secure, one not. One's
Okay.
not.
I'm
So
not a tech guy.
no, it's fine. So I think it's very similar to that experience, right?
Okay.
And this is a new way of transacting and a new way of accessing our money.
I see.
So we're going to have to think about some new ways and some additional steps in order to keep that secure.
Interesting. I've heard of the key. The one thing I heard about the key, though, which was fascinating, was, maybe it was at one of these conferences, but the key, the number is super long. And, well, I'm sure all of them are. And you really need to make sure either you memorize it or you don't lose it.
Yes.
Because when you do, duplicating it could be you may lose everything, basically.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people who kept it on, the same computer where they originated that information from, and maybe that computer crashes, or, that suddenly becomes unretrievable, and then they've lost access to their cryptocurrency.
Wow.
So it's kind of, it's a little different in that with the bank, you can go to the bank and request a new
PIN number.
ATM card, a new PIN number. We're not quite there yet with cryptocurrency.
Okay.
I think there probably may need some developments in either exchanges or some form of if you have a wallet, you could probably have someone to contact in order to help you with that.
I see.
But yeah, it's a little different. It's a little different. But and I heard some amazing stories of early Bitcoin adopters who were crying when it was going up to 19,000 because they no longer had access to their Bitcoin.
Oh my
But
goodness.
it was and it's sort of it's an interesting lesson.
Yeah, no, this is a whole new world, a whole new level of responsibility, and a whole new level of, I guess, potential abuse, right? From, pirates and the black market.
Right. Right. And you can look up some stories. There are some interesting, stories of breaches out there. But I think it's so early in the game that they're each a lesson, right? And
Okay.
and they're each time it's a new way to look at what broke and how do we secure this further.
So from your own point of view, I'm just curious to hear, like, who do you think would be like the ideal profile? What would be the ideal profile of someone who should be looking at cryptocurrency, right? So is it the soccer mom? Is it the college student? Is it the retired civil servant who has tons of time and resources? Is it someone trying to working 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet? And maybe this is a way of them making some additional money in relatively little effort. So, like, who fits the profile of like the ideal person entering
That's
this
a good
market?
question. And I think it depends on that person and how much how much time and money they want to invest. For I think the ideal person maybe would be someone that has a little more time, right?
Okay.
Where you can explore mining and really track the market because it is volatile and it does require you to have eyeballs on it for a long period of time in order to really see where the market is going, where it's changing, whether you should hold on to things or
I
sell.
see. Yeah.
For the average person, let's say the non-ideal person, for just the sake of this conversation, for anyone coming to it, I think if anyone looking to get in and invest and learn what this is, it's best to invest with money that you wouldn't miss. right? So it can be as
discretionary,
small as you want, because
disposable income.
even though, let's say Bitcoin is now what, 6,700 as of this morning, right? It doesn't mean you need 6,700 to get in. You can invest with $100 and purchase a fraction of a coin.
I see.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're missing out by not having a lot of money.
I see.
You can buy in with, I think some of the wallets cap you at $700 a day. But you can invest as little or as much as you want.
So there is no, so in terms of threshold and barrier to entry, there really isn't one in terms of getting started, right?
No.
You said the cap for the one you mentioned was 700 a day, meaning you can't transact more than that in one day, but it could be as little as a few dollars is if you can find currency
Yeah, I
that
forget
cheap.
what the minimums are, but yeah, you can basically just say, I want to invest, like for me getting into Coinbase, right? It was
Okay.
basically saying, I want to invest, let's say $250.
Okay.
And I'm going to spread that $250 across the coins that are available within Coinbase. So it's a fraction of each one.
Interesting.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that, where this differentiates from stock trading, you're buying stock, you're buying so many shares, and you need to have that much money to cover that purchase of that number of shares.
Okay.
But you don't that doesn't equate to this market.
Interesting.
You're just buying, I think, 0.001 of a Bitcoin.
I see.
And that's okay.
And you can't do that with stocks. Less barriers to entry, right? More accessible for people who may not have the means of investing in the stock market or traditional markets. And then more opportunity if you have the time to invest and follow it to generate additional income.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Because you can cash out of what you purchased
Right.
in real money, right? Relatively short. I don't know what the turnaround time is.
Yeah, I think it's a little, it depends on what exchange you're going through,
Okay.
but there is I think there's a slightly longer turnaround time than the stock market
But
right
like
now.
days, not like weeks or months, right?
Yeah, I think it depends on who you're going
Who you're
through.
working
But
with.
you can cash out.
Yeah, you can't. You're not stuck.
Right. And I think personally, because there aren't a lot of everyday transactional experiences with it, you're basically buying it to hold it right now.
I
It's an
see.
investment.
I see.
And that's definitely part of the culture too, is buying and holding and seeing where it goes. And then there's other types of coins that are looking for more direct transactions where you would probably buy in and interact with the community using the token. But things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, I would say are probably a bit more buy and hold. Ethereum has more use cases where there's
Ethereum.
transactions.
What is so is there a company that has accepted Bitcoin in a transaction, a traditional transaction, like groceries, like a utility bill, buying a car? Has there been anything like that's happened?
The one that comes to mind is Overstock.
Overstock.
They were accepting Bitcoin online.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
As an
yeah.
option, which I found really interesting. And to me, that was such a mainstream application that yeah, I'm definitely excited to see more of that. And then, funny enough, just driving through my neighborhood, I saw a Bitcoin cash machine,
Bitcoin
which I haven't
cash
explored
machine.
yet. I've been brave enough to actually go up to it and put a card in there.
Oh yeah.
But I thought that was incredible that there's a Bitcoin machine
That will
in the
give you
hood.
cash in exchange for
I think it allows you to buy in
buy
to the
in.
market. Yeah.
Talk about those new market entrants. People are seeing opportunities all over the place. That's smart.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what's
and
up.
like I said, I do not endorse it.
No,
I
no,
have
no,
not
totally.
tried it myself.
No, totally.
But I think it's incredible to think that there's applications that are coming that would allow more people to interact.
One thing's for sure, though. I mean, I think we've seen this over and over again with technology. If we don't engage it and learn about it, we get left behind. Whether it be from a point of view of like, not being trained in for opportunities,
Yes,
or not being able to leverage economic opportunities.
I agree, and that's a major concern of mine, where I really see the need to bring more women, more people of color into the space. So I think, whatever we can do to make this as friendly as possible and as inclusive as possible is going to ensure that these wonderful, visionary ideas that we have are inclusive and sort of bring everyone along, right? And allow everyone to interact with it.
So do you have any, and we'll wrap up shortly, do you have any personal predictions about blockchain or Bitcoin or crypto? I mean, not Bitcoin, crypto or blockchain?
Crypto and blockchain. Completely my personal opinion here, but I'm so excited about blockchain. Cryptocurrency, I think, is really a wonderful way to get people interested in blockchain.
Okay.
But personally, I am so interested in blockchain, and I see some really interesting applications of it. There are people talking about, because it is a transactional smart contract tool, there are people looking at ways to track music rights. So right now, as I think we all know, anyone who's ever tried to create content and they don't know what music to put in their music bed, and if they're going to get penalized or not,
That's right.
it's so hard to tell where that music comes from, who owns it, who has rights to it, who you need to pay, if you need to pay. And the blockchain provides an opportunity in order to provide a trackable source, in order to make that so much easier and allow the people that created that content to be the source and receive the payments.
Wow.
So, and we're talking about healthcare and the transaction of information around healthcare. This provides a secure way in order to exchange that information. There's actually someone who I met, Erica, who's starting a company around delivering content using the blockchain. And she's actually creating a library of VR content that's going to be available on the blockchain for people to pull from and use. And again, it's tracked directly back to the source, and the person that created it gets whatever form of payment they decide
I
on.
love that.
So there's just so many more applications to this than cryptocurrency, and that's what really excites me about this space. And I I would like to see a way where, we're not necessarily transacting where money is at the other end of the transaction, where maybe it can be a barter system where two people have things that are needed, and it allows them to transact and exchange those things. So everyone's getting what they actually need rather than just getting a token or money of some form.
I love that. Listen, I love your optimistic predictions. I want to give you my pessimistic predictions based on.
They're in my head
Yeah,
too.
no, I
But
mean
yes,
only.
let's discuss
Yeah,
them.
only because we've seen, we had the World Wide Web, and then that gets manipulated, and and then all these great innovations. But what happens is big business or government or both come in and really kind of put a lot of restrictions or segment it in a way that it's not accessible by all at all times. So when I think about this, I think, especially for the young people listening, jump in now while there isn't a lot of regulation, while there isn't a lot of oversight. Obviously, be smart, and because there's a lot of risk as well.
And that's the best way to
Take
learn.
full advantage.
Jump in now.
Jump in now, because when these big, conglomerate organizations start biting at this thing and taking up, control of IP and investing tons of dollars, the same entry points won't be as level. I think I would suspect, and the same opportunities to generate revenue and income won't be the same. The scales and the margins. So so I think it's probably, if this is what it sounds like it is, which is an incredible innovation from the blockchain point of view, and an incredible opportunity for a new economy to be built in the crypto space. If it's what I suspect it is, then the folks who are kind of playing around thinking about it, jump in, because it may not be that available to you 5-10 years, not even that long, probably more like between 3 and 5 years from now. You know what I mean? Because we know how Big Brother can be, and and these corporate powers can be. So, but this is super helpful. I thank you so much, Nadine,
Sure.
for breaking this
I
down.
just
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to add to what you're
please,
saying with
please.
it too, and I think in a very hokey kind of way, now that it's unregulated, this is your chance to be the change that you want to see.
That's right.
So if there's something that you want to create, jump in and start creating it and get it out there. And then, if regulation changes that, or if, who knows, we may have a whole new way of transacting, and it may not be an issue.
There you go.
But
Well, you heard it right from
this is
her,
your chance.
Nadine from BK. You know what I'm saying? This is get in, create, innovate before it's too late. That one was free, guys. So
I love it.
tune in again for our next episode. Thank you, Nadine, for coming and explaining cryptocurrency and blockchain. And so, but thank you again. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank
and
you.
You guys listening, make sure you come back for the next episode. Like us on YouTube, follow us, subscribe on YouTube, download on iTunes, and anywhere you see me, just holler if you want to be on the show and you got something to share. All right, BKO day.
Mr. J. Christopher, protect the righteous with wisdom and strength.